Hey everybody. Just a quick check-in. I'm actually somehow able to get access to the student loan movie, which I think is very important. Um, Remember, your first short two-page paper is due on Monday. We also have the um, movie about the poverty line, and I'll show you both of those before I start the movie. But this is exactly an hour and 20, so I wanted to get started with it. In fact, let's see here, go back. And so here is the line about poverty in America. There's your title. We will get into that as promised next week. Also, here's where you turn in your assignment. So that quick two-pager is right here, your assignments. And you've got your attendance, which it looks like about half of you have gotten into, and then your social work as a career paper. So those are everything for today. I'm going to go ahead and start this one because it is an hour and 20 some and way more important than anything else. So let me start that now.
Coming of age in an amazing time.
As Americans, we enjoy more freedoms and opportunities than citizens in any other nation on earth.
So my American dream is pretty simple. My American dream is just not living paycheck to paycheck.
We have the chance to get an education and work hard and give our children a better life.
You don't go to college, you don't get a job. Like, that's the only way you can make a living for yourself.
The challenge for our generation is to create a world where everyone has a sense of purpose. From a pretty early age, I knew I wanted to be an orthodontist.
What has always been certain is the ability to shape that destiny.
My mom was a teacher. I just ended up falling in love with history and went down that track.
You will be happy, you will be successful, and you will make a difference in the world.
Congratulations on your graduation.
A college degree is a signal. Attend the best possible university you can get into.
You'd be wrong to forego a college education.
The return on a college education has never been greater.
What it is a signal of is I'm able to speak a certain way and understand a certain set of cultural tropes, and this group of people maybe not so much.
Financing college is very tough for millions of Americans. Tuition has gone through the roof.
Post-secondary education is now the largest source of consumer borrowing behind mortgage loans.
So many families are borrowing to the teeth.
And the thing that we say to these kids is, do this shtick in high school and it will get you into college. And then we say, now do it again and it will get you a job.
They fell into a trap our society has created for them.
Student loan debt has been steadily increasing, affecting approximately 44 million Americans.
The cost of getting a college education is having a lasting effect on graduates.
It's just so natural, like everyone does it.
This is good, Dad.
$13,000 can turn into $25,000 easily.
There's a good return on investment. I'm paying all these bills and I have nothing.
You did this to chase the American dream that we all cherish.
People are alive but not living.
This is not the way the American dream is set up.
You know, here I am 36. I have $1 million in student loans. Every piece in the system did what it was supposed to do. And the victims are 17 years old. The stories all come down to one thing. How has this happened to me when I did everything right?
Everybody sign in on the chat. But I'm trying to also get it here. And this is a really good documentary.
I remember, man, when I was 17, guy walked in from a local college there in the city of Fayetteville and said, hey, if you haven't started thinking about college education, you are late. And if you really want to be successful, you have to go to college. Because if you do not go to college, you will not be successful. That's what they told me. I didn't know how to process it. My entire young life, I was never taught the proper education of what I needed to be successful. I was just told, go to college, you will be successful. And if you haven't taken out student loans, that's okay. Everyone is doing it. And I became like everyone.
The culture in the last 3 or 4 decades has dramatically shifted. It used to be that we said education is important. Study something so that you can further your career. It moved from that to where education was permission to play. You weren't going to be valid in the economy unless you had a 4-year or more degree. Not only is it necessary, but it's like a guarantee that you're guaranteed to be more successful. And so you have to have this because a degree is the answer.
Society has rules. And the first rule is you go to college. You want to have a happy and successful life? You go to college. If you want to be somebody, you go to college. If you want to fit in, you go to college.
Is a 4-year college degree still a good investment?
I mean, not surprisingly, we as a principal think it's a good investment for a couple of reasons. One, a student's going to earn $1 million more over their lifetime career opposed to if they didn't have a college degree. They'll be more nimble. They have lower rates of unemployment. Even Robert Johnson said they're going to live longer because they're likely to have better insurance.
Okay.
We set the table in such a way that we doomed millions of parents and kids to take the bait. When we elevated the pursuit of a 4-year degree to here, we inversely relegated a 2-year degree or a community college or an apprenticeship program or all those other things down here. Higher education became a thing. Everything else became an alternative.
There was some studies that came out and said, if you have a college degree, you will make this much more in your lifetime. That became the marketing slogan for higher ed, which is if you come do this, you make more money. The shift of a public good turned into a private good. I'm getting my degree so I can make more money for me. Then the markets got involved, and this thing was not something we all invested in, like roads or police or fire departments. It became a way for me to get rich.
The cost of college has grown faster than the cost of energy, and the cost of real estate, the cost of healthcare, all of it. Somehow we got it into our heads that it's priceless. And we've told an entire generation of kids, if they don't borrow whatever it takes, then they're going to enter into this crazy rat race, hopelessly disadvantaged. So you got a 17, 18-year-old kid being told to sign on the dotted line or else. His parents aren't cautioning him not to do that. Guidance counselors aren't saying, hey, take a breath, be careful. Nobody is.
I think where this really becomes a crisis is millions of people who faithfully pay their student loan bill every month, where that debt is having an enormous implication on their lives and their communities. Things like the ability to buy a house, save for retirement, what career you choose, even if you're going to start a family.
It's this unintentional consequence of just living in society and being surrounded by everything that says spend and have a certain lifestyle. It's okay to borrow and go into debt. And just make sure you can afford the payments. You're just following the normal path. Normal ended me in the back of my car because I didn't have nowhere to sleep. Normal ended me in the YMCA washing myself because I didn't have a home to go to take a shower. Before I even turned 19, I'm $35,000 in debt. I was that young kid thinking about committing suicide. I was that young kid wondering, how am I going to eat? And it was during that season of my life that I decided that I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm tired of not being able to have the options. What can I eat? What can I do? Where can I go? And so I got myself out of debt. Learned a lot about money, learned a lot about life.
Right, Anthony?
Had to lose some friends, had to better myself. And I said, when I get out of this, I want to be in front of young people and help them go after their dreams, but make sure that their dreams do not become nightmares. And when I look at this table, I see dreams, but if it's going down the wrong path, I also do see future nightmares. And so I'm excited to be here with you all tonight just to have a conversation about your life and what you are experiencing. You all are about to step into the real world. What is one thing that you're feeling about graduation?
So once I get out of high school, I gotta make sure I get the right steps to make sure that whatever I do going forward can put my kids in a better situation than I am.
Does that make you fearful though? Are you nervous about that?
Yeah, because I'm a teenager, so I make boneheaded decisions. So like, my small decision can play a big role in my future.
Hey, but you know what? At least you admit that, bro. I'm a teenager. I'm gonna make some dumb decisions. What is one decision you're scared of making?
I want to enjoy my life to the fullest because I live for now, and then I also got to live for the future. So you don't know which one you want to choose.
My mom tells me all the time to do what makes me happy. She support me 100%. But then I also have my dad. He tells me, look, you have to pick something. It has to be something that's high paying because you have to feed yourself, And we're in a society today where you can't just not go to college, or well, you can, but it can be a little rough.
Of course, you've grown up, your parents always tell you, you can do anything you want to do. You can do anything you put your mind to. If you work hard in high school and you keep these good grades, you take these classes, you can go anywhere you want to go. Well, they don't tell you that there's a $180,000 price tag attached to it.
So do you think college is the only way you can be successful in life?
Yes. Always. Going to college is like a safety net. No matter what you do in life, no matter what dreams you chase, if you have a degree to fall back on, you're always safe.
My game plan was the game plan that everyone else had. I'm going to apply to get student loans. I always thought everything's just going to be fine. Everything will sort itself out. College was always in the picture. Older brother went to college, older sister went to college, so me being the youngest, also go to college and get the best I can for myself. For that first year, it was $24,000. I didn't work, I played 3 sports. So to me, it was really easy to say, this money will just take care of itself. I'll make enough money. Went off to school and didn't really worry about it for a year until we had to do it all over again.
Free money.
Free money. Get out the notes that we started on before. We're going to keep going over values and beliefs and things that we have in our society that tell us what we can and cannot do, and so on from there.
I met Josiah through mutual friends. We were only dating for a couple months, and he just brought it up, and I didn't even think twice about it. Like, everyone had it, like, that's fine, whatever. And I don't think it really hit me until like the week after we got married. We got a decent amount of money from our wedding, and that instantly like went straight to like all of our bills, and then like it was gone.
Everyone in the pictures They're so happy holding their diploma, walking across the stage. By the time the graduation ceremony was, I had realized it's not this happy-go-lucky time. I had taken out about $110,000 in student loans. Interest had been gathering the entire time. That had ballooned to $125,000 after 4.5 years of college. It was something that I was not prepared for. It was an avalanche coming down on me. I had a total of 11 separate bills coming in the mail for $870 some dollars that I was going to have to pay per month.
Student loans on the table for you?
Yes.
Man, you jumped straight to yes, bro.
I mean, I'm not the first, I'm not gonna be the last. Like,
Is that the only option?
I mean, technically no.
My thing is, whenever you want to do something, you gotta take the good and the bad with it.
Yeah.
So like my thing is, if you want to be real successful, you might have to take on the debt. But is you gonna work hard to get out of that debt?
But how much debt is
What
too much?
are you really? Yeah, that's the whole thing when it comes to student loans. Like, what does you feel like is enough risk for you?
Yeah, and in life, like everything sucks. Everything has like a backdrop. Everything has a trade-off. You're never gonna get a good only. You're just choosing what sucks less.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
I know people that are planning to die with that debt. Like they're only paying interest.
I'll take the blow. Like, give it to me, you know?
So you would hold that burden for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
paying off student
Yeah.
loans, hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah,
of
like when you want something really bad, you gotta take all of it.
This is probably one of, if not the most important financial decisions in your life. And I think a lot of this stems from this unfortunate thought that we don't need to worry about student debt because it's, quote, good debt. There's something about like the word student being before the word loan that just makes us think about this differently and like differently in a very bad way.
The student loan problem has reached epidemic proportions. The curve on the growth of credit card debt, even though it's been ridiculous, has been much more gentle than the curve on student loan debt. It's gone to a mushroom cloud in terms of the mathematics on it. The problem is you don't register emotionally that it's money. I mean, when you borrow money to buy a $20,000 car, you have a completely different emotional experience than if you write a check or put down $20,000 worth of Benjamins right there. You have an emotional experience that you do not have when you just sign and go, I think I can make those payments. It's the same thing happens with student loans.
There's a whole lot of people who have a big target on your back, who view you and your ability to take on a ton of debt as their chance to get rich.
College tuition has risen enormously over the past 5 decades. Why would someone pay for this? Well, everyone seems to agree that graduating from college is a guarantee to a better life. So it's no surprise that the student debt level has risen exponentially as people pursue their shot at the American dream. But is the payoff really there? Well, when the student loan program was first started by the government, it had really good intentions. Students could only borrow up to $1,000 a year for school. The expectation was as students completed their higher education, they would in turn contribute their knowledge and skills back into society. And the money for all of this came directly from the U.S. Treasury. But as the demand for higher education grew, so did tuition. Now, the government had to open up the student loan program even more. So, they brought in the banks. That meant the government didn't have to foot the initial bill anymore, but they still guaranteed the loans if the borrower couldn't pay it back. So the banks, they were getting paid one way or the other. And on top of that, they got to collect any and all interest from the loans. In business, this is called making a profit. So fast forward, tuition is still rising because the demand for college wasn't slowing down, and the banks, they couldn't keep up. This is where the government stepped in and created the Student Loan Marketing Association, more conveniently known as Sallie Mae. As a government-sponsored enterprise, they were designed to funnel money into the student loan. They would buy the loans from the banks, allow the banks the cash flow to issue more loans. And over the next 2 decades, Sallie Mae became a major player in the student loan market. But in 2004, Sallie Mae cut their strings from the government and became a fully private company. And this meant they were a real business, a business that exists for one thing, to make a profit. This is where the student loan program went from being a public good to big money. Actually, this isn't even a program anymore. It's an industry. The real nail in the coffin, though, came a year later when Sallie Mae convinced Congress to make private student loans nearly impossible to discharge through bankruptcy. This has resulted in growing default rates, record amounts of interest accumulated, and dragged out repayment plans that never go away. Now, we're left with entire generations of people trapped in student loan debt who took it on in hopes of making a better life for themselves, because that was the original goal of all this. But it's companies like Sallie Mae, Navy, Great Lakes, Key, Oslo, Nelnet, and countless others whose pockets are overflowing with the money your future was supposed to be built on. So, with over 45 million Americans sharing this $1.6 trillion in student loan debt, the question still remains.
Hey guys, it's Lacey, and I am broke as
$200,000.
$172,000 in debt.
Went to a ass state school.
I have only paid off $7,231.11. How much interest have I paid in 13 years? $19,030.27. Holy.
You got a willing day that said you're allowed to be forgiven if you die. Yeah, that's nice.
So I feel like my time in college wasn't really the ideal picture that I had of college. I felt like college was supposed to be fun and the time that you're away from parents and rules and can make your own decisions. But my college was pretty much filled with how am I gonna make sure I'm stable? My view was like, it's not the end of the world. It's normal. It's life to have debt. Everyone has debt. Everyone has it. So it's fine. Brush it off. Don't worry about it. When I got my final financial aid report and I seen how much more money I needed, you can't start class if you don't have a zero balance. I had to do something. I couldn't get that amount of money from home. I talked to the financial aid advisors that we have at our school, and they introduced me to loans. I did look at it as it was an investment in myself, like it's okay. But then once I realized I had to continue to take things out, it was like, okay, wow, this is like adding up very quickly. It became a thing of like dreading the fact that I'm gonna owe so much money when I get out of school. That is when it like hit me the hardest. It's like you don't want to have to be in debt. And so you try to comfort yourself with the notion that it's normal, but you don't want it. So it's like a constant like dissonance and conflict going on through your whole collegiate career because you're like, yeah, I'm excelling as far as I'm getting a higher education. But at the same time, I'm going to be just like everyone else, working to pay off debt.
The weight that people feel from this decision, They haven't even made their first rent payment on an apartment. They haven't had to have their own bank account for a lot of students. Like their prefrontal cortex isn't even fully developed yet. And yet we're saying, do you want $50,000 in student loans? That's a lot to put on an 18-year-old, especially when you have well-respected adults working at banks or admissions offices saying, hey, this is a great thing. Just take out this loan. It's no big deal. People shouldn't leave college in chains from the decision to get an education that helps them contribute to society. That is a good thing. It's really sad to see people struggle as a result of this great decision to get an education.
Add another one to the list. It said some of these other bills are going to be a little bit lower, but you never know. So we might even have additional stuff too. So come back on groceries.
Yeah.
So if we can change it, what do we need? We need about $60, $80. So if we can change.
You think, I have a house, we have a car, we have jobs, like we're fine, we're the average American. But we weren't making ends meet.
We were living paycheck to paycheck, and I thought I made a decent salary. But we get the taxes this month. It puts us at about $20 short. So if I go donate plasma like another time, that's another $20 or so, depending on which one it is. We are on our way to Lima to donate plasma. That's something that I do usually every Tuesday and Thursday after football practice. Split. Outside linebackers wide now. Have to stay in still. Quarterback is still your guy because if they do a cross. Don't get home till about 8 or so, but gotta make us a little bit extra money somehow. That money I make during the month or donating is a big difference in my life. People say like I go through a crazy schedule, but I've left Courtney at home for the last 12 plus hours. I worked and worked and worked, and I worked at a job I didn't like, but I had no choice. Like I have student loan payments to make. I didn't make enough money to pay it off in 15 years like the plan they wanted me to. It's gonna take me 30 years to pay off. I took out credit cards when I was in college because that's what you do. I still had a car payment at that time too. I was broken. I'm paying all these bills and I have nothing.
I want you to be successful. I want each and every one of you all to go after the American dream. But I gotta ask you this question. What is one thing that can stop your dreams? Did. Say it again. Did. Say that one more time. Did. My man. You gotta take debt off of the table. I'd rather take 6 years to graduate debt-free than graduate in 4 and I spend the next 30 years paying back my student loans. Let's be real. If all of you all went to college, didn't listen to my advice today, 2 of you all would graduate from this table with $100,000 or more in debt. Studies are showing that the average person takes them 20 years to pay back their student loan debt. Let me go deeper. Studies are showing that y'all right here, young people, when you graduate college, the number one goal in life is not to get your dream job. Number one goal in life is when you graduate college, it's not to go out there and buy your nice car. It's not to go out there and buy a house and start a family. You know what the number one goal is for college people who are just now graduating?
Pay off student loans.
Is that the American dream? No. The number one mistake I see with your generation is you take a kid's approach to an adult decision.
It's funny talking with my mom and getting her story of, I went to college for $4,000 and thinking to myself, that's cool. It's not that cheap now. Growing up, we were more in the lower middle class. A single mom who has 2 boys. You could tell that we didn't have an endless supply of money. For college, I ended up opting to go the business route I saw what the financial situation was like and realized if I could create a business and grow that and then be able to give back, how much more of a difference would that make if I could fund 20 of me to go to college? U of M in Minnesota was my big choice. It's a very large, substantial campus, and you get this sense of pride, walking into that situation, knowing that this is where I could be cutting my teeth for going out into the real world. So one day, go to the mailbox, I got in. It's what I wanted. I was totally set on going there. I'd done everything I needed to up into that point. Basically, I could coast out my senior year, right? Made it to the next step. That's the funny part. They don't send the tuition with the acceptance letter. That letter also had shock. You open it up, you look at it, and $22,000 a year. At that time, I'm driving a car I paid $600 for. I was totally ready just to dive deep into debt because that's what the journey looks like, right? That's what everyone expects it to be. And I was going to be one of them.
What college are you going to?
I haven't got my financial package from Duke yet, but Duke is my passion.
Why is Duke your dream school?
I've been to the campus, I've toured, and I fell in love with it.
You fell in love with
the classes, the people there, the overall experience of being there, the connections.
How much is Duke going to write you?
Yearly about 75.
Ooh, my Lord.
It's undergrad, so I'm still thinking about it.
Still?
Yeah.
That's $300,000.
Yeah, no.
For a degree?
Yeah.
What about you?
NYU, really.
NYU?
Yeah.
Why is that your school?
Because it's saturated with music artists, with producers, with opportunities out at every corner for music in particular.
How much is it?
75.
Gosh. $75,000?
I'm gonna reach for what I can. And if NYU is it, then I'm gonna reach. Oh my gosh, that was so serious. Please stop. Don't be silent.
Okay, so I toured Buffalo back in November, and I don't know, I feel like it would be a lot like high school as far as arriving there. I know my parents talk about college was the best years of their life, and so I feel like the experiences I'm gonna get at college are gonna be unmatched.
So you going all the way to Buffalo State just to have an upgraded high school experience?
Yeah, keyword upgraded.
Well, if I wanted to sell a college to the normal group of semi-unmotivated, semi-uninformed people, I would start with the football team. I would move on to the parties. I would then go on to shiny pictures of people at graduation.
We are!
I wouldn't mention student debt. I wouldn't mention all the hours you have in between class, because most colleges aren't good at helping people through that.
Picking a school is a complicated process between applications and essays and costs and visitation and the stuff out there on the web. It's just overwhelming. The average person doesn't know what to look for because this isn't their world. And then all of a sudden you get thrust into it and it's information overload. And how do you synthesize it into something that makes a whole lot of sense?
The new 30th edition of Best Colleges was just released this morning. We've got it. Brian Kelly is editor at U.S. News and World Report. Good to see you again, Brian Kelly. This is getting to be an annual visit. We like it.
If you were to ask me what's the worst thing that has happened to higher education in the last 20 or 30 years, I would say, unabashedly, a fledgling magazine decided to start ranking colleges.
Which schools will have the greatest chance of giving you the American dream?
The usual suspects, I have to say, Princeton, Harvard, Yale, Columbia, Stanford are the top 5. The whole world wants to go to these places.
Education is a brand now. That's a label. That's an industry.
One of the things U.S. News and World Report measures is the percentage of people the college rejects. That the more people you reject, the better college you must be.
I always look at their alumni. They're very loyal alumni. People who go to Princeton love Princeton. They give it money, they come back, they stay engaged with the school. That makes a difference.
And then they came with this ever-evolving matrix of points, really important things like your reputation, how other people think about you. It turns into a higher ed arms race.
It's like Nikes versus Gucci. They're both shoes, they both work the same, but one has more value because of the name.
Some colleges figured out if they made their dorms nicer or their gyms fancier, more people would want to come.
What's up with their dorms? What do they have?
Beautiful campus,
Yeah.
10 different residence halls, there's a food service, it's pretty awesome.
Nice. Beautiful.
If more people wanted to come, they discovered that U.S. News and World Report would rank them higher.
Do you accept bribes?
Only very large ones. I have been lobbied by some of the finest people in the world.
If U.S. News and World Report ranked them higher, more people wanted to come. If more people wanted to come, they could charge more because their piece of paper was worth more. So the ratchet kept turning, and it kept turning, and it kept turning.
The parents are demanding. The college students are demanding. You have to be. Otherwise, they won't come because your college isn't good enough.
The idea that you can spend 4 years not living at home, going to class 3 hours a day, yeah, that's the definition of privilege, wherever you came from.
That's campus food?
I mean, it is fabulous.
Wow.
So let's be really clear. You shouldn't go to a famous college. There's no reason. I hope you go to a great college. But I also know that some of the cheapest colleges in America could be great if you make them great, if you use your time there to have a series of experiences that change your life and other people's lives, because that's what you get. You get 4 years of freedom and leverage. What are you going to do with it? Because if all you're doing is saying, I'm going to give up 4 years of my life and all my money for a piece of paper at the end, well, it doesn't make sense to pay what you're currently paying for the paper.
What really was apparent to me was how much debt can be that ball and chain on your ankle when you actually hop into the real world. Once you can change that mental state of debt actually doesn't have to be an option, I can do this a different way, there's a newfound freedom that comes with that. Going forward with school, I knew that I wanted to pay for it. Later on in my senior year, I went and toured Wisconsin Lutheran College. I went to the school with the mindset, I'm gonna hate this. I was thinking, am I shorting myself by going to a small school? Will I be able to get the job I want to because I went to a no-name school? Everybody knows University of Wisconsin-Madison, the Badgers. Many people know the Wisconsin Lutheran College Warriors. As exciting as D3 football is, I knew we weren't going to be known for that. But then when that tuition bill came, paired with some scholarships that I earned in high school, meant I wouldn't be going in debt my first year. That was an eye-opener.
I'm convinced that most of the mistakes around college are simply college choice. It's that simple. 30 years ago, the difference in cost of a community college, a state school, and a private school was not a lot. And the difference in what you got 30 years ago in terms of the quality of education was a lot. The weird thing is that the quality of education has come up on the community college so much and on the state school so much that they're almost all three parallel now. But the cost went dramatically different. But here's the thing, a lot of people get the basic knowledge of business, the basic knowledge of communication, the basic knowledge in the IT field at a community college and get a really good career out of it. Information is just much more accessible now than it was 30 years ago to the average person.
So let's talk for a second about whether you should go to college at all. Given that every single course at MIT is available online for free, given that with motivation, you could cover 4 years of college coursework in a year, that there are ways to cobble together what you would learn in college and even show up with a degree without going in the front door, without paying full price. And the giant shift that's happening is that the people who are hiring What they want from you is not that you went to a school with a better reputation or at least a better football team. What they want from you is the real skills: creativity, honesty, directness, leadership, resilience. And I think we've got to strip away the easy and fun part, stop rewarding it, stop confusing it with a useful signal, and instead get back to the hard part, which is how are we going to be productive, generous human beings?
I'm not really going to college to get my degree. I'm going to get the knowledge. So my plan was to go Calvert, right? That's like Harvard for animation.
It is.
Yeah. And then I was like, I'm set. But then 2 schools here have animation programs. So I was like, you know, might as well. I go and check out those schools' animation program. And it's the professors are Disney animators. So it's like what I'm getting here in my home state and home city, like for free.
Wow.
Instead of getting into like $400K in debt.
Right.
It's like, why would I not? You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
So you turned down the Harvard of animation to come here.
Turned down the chancellor. Yeah.
Okay. You're banking on student loans and work. If not, sounds like you may not be going to school.
That's the reality I've come to face this year.
You still may not be able to go to school or your dream school.
I wouldn't be able to be comfortable at school if I don't go to my dream school. Because I picked my dream schools to be the schools that I would be happy at, that I would be comfortable at.
Why?
It's like, it's the price you pay for certain things in life, because I could skip out on college and go work a full-time job. Won't have any debt, but I won't be happy. Can't come up with $13,000 a year. So
you can't.
No. No.
I honestly didn't know how I was going to pay for year number 2. You go through the first year of bliss, but when the tuition bill hits, you get that letter in your mailbox that says tuition is going up for next year. No one wants to pay more money for school. I was fully prepared to take a gap year or do anything to avoid having debt my second year and continuing on.
College tuition can now cost as much as $50,000 a year. But luckily, one woman says she's figured out how to get a college education for free. Christina Ellis earned $500,000 in scholarships and is the author of Confessions of a Scholarship Winner. Welcome, Christina. Nice to see you.
A lot of times whenever people hear that I won $500,000 in scholarships, they sometimes assume that like I just got to pocket anything that I didn't use. And they're like, where's the car that you bought? And it's like, no, that's not how it works. That being said, a really cool thing about pushing for a lot of scholarships is that you can actually get a refund check if you live off campus. I would actually get like a $10,000 check each semester to be able to pay for my housing and my books and meals and transportation. So winning scholarships can allow you to have a lot of freedom and flexibility with how you live your life while you're in college.
What are your thoughts on scholarships? Are you all currently applying for any right now?
Yes, and it's like, I don't know where to look. And it's really overwhelming because you hit so many dead ends.
It's like 10 million scholarships. It's overwhelming. It's
I went to
stressful.
the library and got scholarship books in their garbage. Like, I'm trying. I was aware of scholarships. Honestly, they were just a hassle. It's just too many non-guarantees in that when I could be working, because most of them only range from like $200 to $1,000, and that doesn't even put a thump in how much tuition is at most universities.
I think it's great to have the conversation about scholarships your freshman year because it gives students time to develop a resume without a lot of pressure. That being said, a lot of students think that it's too late to apply for scholarships if they've already started college, and that's just not true. There are scholarships that are available for students all throughout their college experience.
The gap is really there's a lack of financial education inside of our schools. And then 2, there's just a lack of wise counsel along this journey. And we're not taking the time to teach our young people to step back and to do the research.
If you spend 2 hours filling out an application that allows you to win a $1,000 scholarship. That's like making $500 an hour. That is significant. I mean, what other part-time job in high school are you going to find that makes that amount of money?
I decided I want to make looking at scholarships like my full-time job. If I just hit one of those $500 scholarships after applying for 10 of them, it's still worthwhile.
So much of it is about habits and just getting in a groove of consistently putting in the effort. It doesn't have to be so overwhelming if you just break it down into manageable steps.
You may have to come home, spend 2 hours, spend 3 hours on the internet grinding. You may get a lot of no's, but that one yes, that second yes, that third yes is going to be worth all the no's that you got. Scholarships are a great opportunity.
There are millions of scholarships given away every single year for so many different reasons. You can win a scholarship for being tall, for being short. There's a vegetarian scholarship. There's a scholarship for being a golf caddy, for having the best zombie apocalypse escape plan. The criteria is so broad that it's a numbers game in many senses. Don't write off the $500 scholarship. Don't write off the $1,000 scholarship because those are often where students find the most success.
There were some I didn't find out till the last second, and there were some that I got that I didn't even know I was going to get.
If you are still enrolled in a university, you should still do your research and try to find scholarships. If you are currently taking out student loans to get through school, take a moment to do some research and see the vast options available.
Where you do not have set goals and you do not go through a series of behaviors with intentionality, you are never going to be in that area of your life successful. And college is no exception to that.
Every single day, you're being intentional about the decisions that you make that's going to get you in college and through college without borrowing a dime.
It sets in once you apply for graduation. It's like, okay, I will no longer be in school. So I no longer have that crutch of putting it off. Because now at this point, I am going to have to come up with a plan as to when I'm going to start paying it back off, how much I'm going to have to start paying back off, and what I can even afford to pay back off. And there's a bunch of stuff that come with adulthood that you just don't account for. It does kind of make me worry about what am I going to do then? You know, like I don't want to still be paying back student loans when I'm supposed to be near retirement. But being realistic and like looking at it, it's like, well, maybe I won't be, because $13,000 can turn into $25,000 easily, depending on how I manage that. Because it's a lot of my peers who leave a 4-year university and still don't have a job for 6 months. And that's when you have to start paying back your student loans. So it's like, what do you do?
Moving to Van Wert, we tried buying a home. Like, it wasn't a very nice home, but it was in well means. And we applied for a loan and got denied. Definitely, like, put us in perspective. Like, we would never get a house. If you don't want to have kids, like, we're not going to be able to live.
We had a point in time where we actually did not go shopping for a full month, and we didn't have food outside of basically some boxed pasta and like watered down spaghetti sauce, because we did not have enough money to literally go afford to buy groceries. And that's with every credit card maxed out, everything like just literally backs to the wall, pinned up against it.
Like, we've officially hit rock bottom.
I just look back at that money amount and realize, like, what did it actually get me? I know it got me a college degree, and I know it got me experiences, but is a college degree and experiences worth $125,000?
We don't think anymore. We just do. So much of our mental health challenges in this country are because we let our feelings and our emotions drive our day. College choice is no different. We've gotten so unintentional about it. then we figure out we're going to pay for it later. Now we blinked. There's a couple of $1 trillion floating around out there on the backs of 19, 20, 25-year-olds, 40-year-olds. It's just become like a car payment, like a mortgage. That's just a payment we have. That's a way of life. And we've got to recenter that.
So who's the first person on the schedule?
It's a console.
Oh, okay. When I was 10, I got hit in the mouth with a golf ball. So it like broke my 2 front teeth. And unfortunately, I was the one that hit the golf ball. So it came back and hit me right in the mouth. I was kind of in and out of the dentist's office as a kid. So that's what got me interested in orthodontics. I got out of undergrad debt-free, but then it quickly went the other direction. Finished dental school, I had probably somewhere around $400,000 in student loans. Ortho and oral surgery are the 2 most competitive residencies. And a majority of programs, I mean, they only have 3 or 4 seats each year, and they probably have 1,500 applications. So, I mean, you have to be up in the top of your class to even get an interview.
All right, you just got to stay buttoned down to hold that in place for me, okay?
Once I was in residency, the tuition was $95,000 a year. I mean, at that point, I didn't have any other options. It was either, you're not going to be an orthodontist or this is what you're going to do.
There is a quote-unquote bottomless pit of money, if you will. I consider private loan folks the same as payday lenders. There's always a place to go find money, right? It's going to cost you your soul, but there's money out there if you want to go do the things you got to do to go get it.
We're seeing private education loans becoming larger and larger and larger, where there's no real governmental control like there is under the federal programs. For those, you're at the mercy of your lender. And for that, I can't tell you what's going to happen. But you're at the mercy of a private credit-based lender and you owe tens of thousands of dollars. Good luck.
Think about it like a car payment. You've agreed this much money over this many months at this much amount to pay it back. When you don't, we want it. Give me your pound of flesh now. And that pound of flesh can come in all different ways, but they have to sue you to get that. Then you have now a judgment against you that they can then do other things. For instance, garnish a paycheck if you have one, garnish a bank account if you have one, repossess a vehicle if you own it. So be made whole because they lent you money. What we also have to think about though with that is roughly 90% of those are co-signers. So the co-signer could be mom or dad. Grandma and grandpa is a huge one. And there's nothing worse sitting around Thanksgiving table telling grandpa you can't pay that. And grandpa already knows because he was served with a lawsuit too.
We had borrowers with private student loans where they would be paying their loan on time faithfully, and their parent or grandparent who co-signed their loans died, and instantly, despite the fact they were paying, they're like, "Now you're in default. Give us all our money."
I had someone, she was in a horrific car accident, paralyzed her, and her mother was killed in the car accident, which triggered the default on the private student loans. She was hoping to get back to work. She was, working for her degree in nursing, and she had a closed head injury. And I thought, okay, this is the case. This is it. We can do this. And the court in that, at the end of the day, because she was going to qualify most likely for Social Security disability, that meant that she had the ability to pay it back.
try to figure out how to make this stuff.
If I add some broth to it,
It won't be so
It
dry.
won't be dry.
We'll try it and see.
One way to find out.
When it came to student loans, like you could get whatever you wanted. There's problems on both sides of that. The people that are giving the money and then the people that are taking the money. I mean, $95,000 times 15 residents, you're talking $1.3 million in tuition from 15 people. And the international residents that were there paid $140,000 in tuition every year. 140. You're a number. You're a paycheck. And who you're surrounded by in those years are people who probably know nothing about personal finance, have the same loans that you have, and you literally just you do everything you can just to not even think about it. It's not like I'm getting a loan and they're giving me the money and then I have to actually give it to the school. I never saw it. It was scary, but at that point you're just like, whatever, man. With all the interest and everything that I already had on my loans, I probably had $500,000 or $600,000. I'm like, sure, just throw it on there.
I'm gonna go and take it back and do the impressions.
Okay. It's a ton of money, and it's scary. And I think early on too, it was just we had to have like a lot of like hard conversations about it. How are we gonna pay it off? Do we just go on a minimum repayment plan and you just pay it off for forever? Like, how do you even begin to get out of it?
The people who are writing the loans, and they don't care. So I just got an offer on my student loans, like, oh, you qualified to lower your interest rate. Well, why'd you wait till I have $300,000 in interest to lower my interest rate? Why don't you lower it before? Because you just wanted all the interest.
These student loans, they never go away. Unlike so much other debt that can be forgiven, in the wake of a bankruptcy, for instance. It's like stepping in gum, man. It's with you forever and ever and ever.
So it is accruing about $6,000 of interest every month.
Mr. Frostman, you are now recognized for 5 minutes to present your oral testimony.
Over the course of the last decade, I traveled all across this country, talking to thousands of people in big cities, small towns, and nearly every slice of America in between. And from these conversations, I have found that one aspect of life cuts across: the fallout from extraordinary student debt. There are now more than 8 million student loan borrowers in default. We had 1 million student loan borrowers default last year, the year before that, the year before that, the year before that. So if you do the math, that means every 28 seconds, another student loan borrower defaults on this loan. On top of that, we have 3 million more borrowers who are behind. That's over 10 million people, or 1 out of 4 student loan borrowers, who are having their financial lives ruined as they can't make their payments. People with student debt have just felt invisible. You take on debt, that's what you're supposed to do. This is good debt, stop complaining. But the ramifications for your financial life are the same, if not worse. Like, student loan borrowers have less rights, less protections, and we use the full weight of the government to make sure you pay that back.
I look at all of the things that are going on right here, and I'm just article after article, what certainly seems like a very large amount of corruption. In 2009, Sally Mae's CEO said, quote, if a borrower can create condensation on a mirror, they need to get a loan this year in order to put their subprime lending in place. Navient forwarded wrong information to credit reporting agencies saying that permanently disabled veterans had defaulted on their loans when they hadn't. Then you have ITT Credit Union using financial aid staff to rush students through an automated application process when they knew that they
have projected default rates as high as 64%. So they were setting people up to fail.
These are a series of public policy choices at the federal government, at the state government, that have gotten us here. This is the intersection between so much debt and illegal practices, right? Because there's this enormous mismatch between what borrowers are promised and what's happening on the ground, and in between our student loan companies. This is not just some one-off company or like one bad apple. You see players across the student loan spectrum who just view this as their chance to get rich.
My name is Lynn Sabowski. I am a former employee of Navient's call center. I thought it was going to be a really easy, straightforward job, that I would understand the rules, that I would perform well. The longer I was there, I started to notice red flags. People were being asked to lie. People were not being given the right information. In general, there was just this oppressive environment that wasn't really allowing the representatives to do the job that they were being paid to do.
There is a memo that Navient counsel told and had the mantra to the people that you would call, those customer service people: forbear, forbear, forbear. Get these people that way.
Forbearance, an agreement to postpone your loan payments while interest continues to accrue.
When Navient puts an account in forbearance, they get to collect the interest. Those loan balances increase. They are now collecting interest on top of interest. That is the most beneficial scenario for them.
We sued one of the biggest student loan companies in the country, Navient, and a single claim as part of that lawsuit documented how the practices of this company added $4 billion with a B dollars of unnecessary interest onto the most vulnerable borrowers.
Mr. Furman, our friends across the aisle have mentioned that student loan servicers are supposedly not incentivized to steer borrowers toward forbearance, and that they are not financially incentivized to give borrowers poor or outright incorrect advice. Yet an audit released by the DOE in February of this year found that more than 60% of the department's oversight report contained examples of servicers acting improperly. If our friends across the aisle are correct and loan servicers are not incentivized to make mistakes and give poor advice, then why is this consistently happening?
Because they're wrong. Because they are incentivized to give bad advice. They're incentivized to get their call reps off the phone as quick as possible, which we see across the industry, leading to the outcomes we have today.
As part of our training was keeping your calls to 7 minutes. If I don't keep my call to 7 minutes, I have a lower status at the end of the day. I'm considered not having performed as well. If you're a representative and your choice is give this person the help they need or get in trouble in some way, shape, or form, then really you're pitting one person against the other. I was talking to my coworkers over lunch and over break, and a few of my coworkers said that there was just no way to answer all of those questions in a way that was satisfactory and maintain the numbers that we were maintaining. And so they would be on their call, and then they would just press a button and go, oops. We're sorry,
Funny enough, Navient's still in business, making $1 gajillion a year, and still has contracts with the federal government. Angry yet?
On the shoreline of Maui's Wailea Beach, at the luxurious Fairmont Hotel, Sally Mae executives and more than 100 of its employees are on a 5-day paid trip, celebrating a record year, $5 billion in student loans to 374,000 borrowers.
Planning session and recognition of accomplishments for our sales force. This was something that has been done, I'm going to say, since the company was founded in 1972. And it's recognition of the hard work, but it's an important piece of planning. I think we're done.
That is like a general sentiment that we hear frequently, which is we love getting the money to be involved in the student loan system, but when it actually comes to doing the work to help borrowers to avoid the defaults, how dare you accuse us of being part of the problem? And so we sued this company in court, and one of their top legal arguments were Judge, you should dismiss this case because we have no actual responsibility to help borrowers.
I'm being cheated out of my paycheck. I could retire 2 years after I'm done paying my student loans. It's like paying for retirement and literally never seeing a dime of it ever again.
You should know the names of the companies that have targeted your constituents. Citibank, Discover Bank, Navient, Via, Queen Street, Sallie Mae, SoFi, Transworld, Wells Fargo, and the list goes on.
In a way, there's no morality in the student loan system because there is no one that's going to stop you from borrowing. At the end of the day, it's just, you type a couple buttons in, and on the other side, there's a student loan with some numbers. That is the most personal it gets.
So this right here is my college diploma. Don't even take it out of the envelope. In fact, I had to have my mother mail it to me because I didn't know where it was. So let's see. Stamped, signed, and sealed. That's not going to ever be framed. Not going to ever leave this envelope again, and ensure I can have the degree. It allows me to do something that I love to do in teaching. But this piece of paper is something that has brought a lot of pain in my life. I don't really want to look at it.
You can talk to someone who's graduated 10 years ago and they still owe student loans. So it's like if I can meet a complete stranger and this is what we have in common, that's an issue.
The borrower is slave to the lender, and that's so true. When you have this kind of debt, or really any debt, you feel that. It changes who you are and how you can behave. It changes your life.
The choices that they made now own them. And they were led down this primrose path by a set of values put on them by a series of guidance counselors, parents who weren't thinking, educators who were out of control, and a Congress who continues this ridiculous student loan debacle. And here they sit trapped, and they do not know what to do.
I try to do this without crying. I feel like when he told me how much student loan debt he had, it wasn't gonna make me change the way I felt about him. Your debt isn't bringing you down as a person, Millions of Americans are struggling with the same problem. It's not just your fault. I don't care how much debt he'll ever have. I would still always love him. But I don't think he realized that.
I feel like I've failed as the provider, as the husband, because I'm the reason that we're in so much debt. We only had a total of about $142,000. 120 some of that is my college. It's literally like saying, you're the reason your team is losing. If you weren't on this team, we'd be winning. But because of one thing, it takes everybody down with it.
The first hardest thing it was for me was right after we got married, we could not go on a honeymoon. And I know that sounds like cliche, but like you don't realize you'll never have that like moment, that like time again. Like newlyweds get to go to like this awesome place. Like it's something you look forward to when you get married. And like we lost out on like that time. That was hard.
I know she still loves me no matter what, and I'm so grateful for that. But it stopped us from being able to get a house when we moved down to Vanward, and it stopped us for a long time from not having kids. Like, I'm not being the man that I'm supposed to be.
Looking at, what it's going to look like to actually attempt to pay it off. Paying somewhere around $10,000 a month, sounds like it's going to, actually do something, but it's not going to do as much as you'd like to think that it will. At some point, it's going to have to be, you're paying $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month. To be able to pay $30,000 or $40,000 a month, I mean, you gotta be making a lot of money. I think realizing, what it is, and just knowing that. It's probably not going to be possible, without the help of God. I mean, how am I going to make that much money? But all you can do is try. So.
There are a lot of people who quite rightfully say, I did everything I was told to do. Now I'm in a boatload of debt. I'm not happy about it. How are we going to keep this cycle from repeating itself? Well, to the first group of people, I'm sorry that you shouldn't have trusted the system let you down. How do we keep from repeating it is stop telling people this is what they're supposed to do. Stop telling people that this is the path. It might be easier, it's definitely more fun in the short run, but here it is with subtitles. This is not what you're supposed to do. What you're supposed to do is figure out how to make a contribution, not figure out how to make a marketing industrial governance system happy in the short run.
What was the first step you took in terms of you getting out the lifestyle you were?
Yeah. Changed my mind. What are you putting inside of this that comes out of this, that comes out of this? A degree that y'all are trying to get is a small degree when it comes to your life. This right here is everything. And when I changed what I was putting up here, that's when my whole life changed. Each and every single one of you all need to have a clear vision of what you want to do. The vision is not, I want to go to this school. I want to have this experience. No, what is the vision for your life? I want to have options. I want freedom. The question is, are you willing to put in the work up front? If you can grasp that, you will be successful.
Going into my senior year, I knew it'd be close. I can do the math, so can you. Working at a normal hourly job would not pay the necessary $14,000 I needed for school. I knew what I had to do. I went for something with more opportunity, and that was a sales commission job, and really went and made the most of it. Usually worked 4 days a week, 10-hour shifts, and then on my off days, I would sell lawnmowers and flip them driving across the state.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how about you?
Good. Right over here.
Little did I know that there was so much opportunity in it. Well, I know you had it listed for 6, but I should take 5 on it, cash.
You got to teach young people how to really take ownership of their life. If they're paying something out of their pocket, they will take their education experience a little bit more serious because now they can say, my parents didn't pay for it, we paid for it.
This is just simplistic to me. It's something I understand, and I don't think lawnmowers is for everybody. As someone who's interested in shoes would be better suited to do something like that. As long as you have knowledge in an area, you can probably figure out a way to make money with it.
During this expensive period, if you have the resources and the time, how will you choose to spend it? So that when the system tries to squeeze you, you can say, no, thank you.
Got these pictures uploaded. Gotta do some cropping, get them posted. Then wait.
There was one guy I bought a bigger zero turn, paid $1,700, brought it home, washed it, listed it, sold it for $2,600. Same day.
My mom would just be dumbfounded. Are you sure you're allowed to do that? Wow, it's selling lawnmowers. I don't know what else you want.
You definitely have a lot of noise around you saying, take out loans, you're not able to do this. Once you find that window of opportunity, though, and realize that if you repeat this process over and over, like I did with lawnmowers, there's just so much empowerment and that feeling of running after this goal and chasing it down and putting everything you have into it, that's hard to explain. All right, she's all ready to go.
Yep. When you start opening your eyes and looking to these unique opportunities, you can add value in unique ways. Oh, good. Enjoy it. In total that summer, I probably made around $13,000. At that point, I could say I'm getting out of these 4 years debt-free.
I don't know if we're allowed to go here, but we are.
Oh, sweet. That's cool.
So I remember once when I was an undergrad, and I asked my history professor, why did they send all these 18 and 19-year-old U.S. soldiers to the Normandy invasion? And he said something that shook me. He said, because any combat veteran who saw that plan would have said, no way. D-Day worked because of some extraordinary planning, some extraordinary sacrifice. And what he said was good old-fashioned, unabated American teenage arrogance. Because they got up in front and told those boys, 9 out of 10 of you will not come home. 90 out of 100 of you are not coming back. And those guys in line went, sucks to be that guy, right? And they did that all the way down. Because when you're a teenager, you're invincible. It's going to happen to somebody else. And so I have to know, no matter how honest I'm being, how upfront I'm being, hey, this is expensive and you're going to have to pay this back. I have to know that my end consumer, the 18-year-old's going, okay, we'll get there, and has no understanding of what $700 a month actually feels like out of a $2,400 a month paycheck.
I feel like I'm just so worried about like having to sacrifice my happiness for like a cheaper route. Like having to sacrifice what really makes me happy and bring me joy on a day-to-day basis just to save money. Like happiness is worth anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the part I'm confused on. Like if you're not happy in life at that given moment, no matter what it takes, what does it really matter, the happiness later on?
I'm not saying you can't be happy. I want you to be happy. But I feel as if your happiness comes from something that is outside of education. And I feel as if you're looking for something to confirm something on the internal side of you, not something to help you grow as a man. Because if you're looking for the education, then you can get the education anywhere. But from what you said, you just want to go there so you can have a good time. I would really step back and ask myself, what's more important? Happiness for 4 years that cost me 30, or a little bit of happiness, but hard work that really makes me happy for the rest of my life? If it was me, I'm saying, man, I'm putting in work.
I look back at my 4 years, it's the time of my life. I got to travel a bunch for really cheap. Been to Alaska, California, Texas, Florida. But the reality is, it's not the buildings, it's not the sports, it's not the land around the school that make the experience. That's all up to you. It's not the school that's going to change that.
So which one of you three?
I'm way over there. You'll have to get your binoculars out and squint a little.
I did.
You know what the difference is between a normal person and someone who is not normal? Is the not normal person was willing to do the things that normal people are not willing to do. I do not want to live the majority of my life not being able to do what I want to do because I got to pay for things in my past. That's the normal I refuse to be a part of.
Students need to begin by saying, I refuse to be brainwashed into believing that if I get into a good college, it means I'm better than if I don't. So go find a door you can afford and go through that door. And figure out how to marshal the resources you need, whether it's scholarships or only going part-time or taking a gap year and working like crazy to put $25,000 in the bank. So at least your first year, you're not starting with free and easy money you're going to be paying off for decades.
It never was the degree that caused people to succeed. It was the knowledge base, the tools in their belt to be able to get their work done. That's what caused people to succeed. It still is what causes people to succeed. Whether you can demonstrate that you have the skills to do the job is going to be a much higher indicator than where you went to school, or for that matter, even if you have the degree.
I think there's a real opportunity for guidance counselors and parents to talk to their kids about how they want to work as opposed to what they want to do. I think a smarter thing to tell a person who's trying to figure out what to be when they grow up is to say, put it all on the table. And if you do that, you're liable to be a very happy, satisfied plumber, making 6 figures a year, or perhaps running your own mechanical contract company. It's not the job that makes you happy. It's you.
So what this is really about is freedom. It's about earning the freedom to decide what you're going to do next.
James Wilson, our business administration.
Here's the secret to being successful. You're not looking at the picture today. You're looking at the end picture. What kind of future do you want? And the choices you're making now will impact it.
I can choose what opportunities I want. I can choose where I want to live. I can decide my job. I can focus my time on things that matter to me, which will lead to greater satisfaction down the road. The best feeling is knowing that this journey that I'm starting with the rest of life, I don't have to carry any baggage with me.
Can you imagine getting off that stage, going home, walking into your job for the very first time? It's your career. When you get that first paycheck, that paycheck is yours. Can you imagine having freedom at 22, making $35,000, $40,000, $45,000 a year? Walking the stage debt-free is not just about walking the stage debt-free, but you're walking into life debt-free.
So I only had access to that for like today. That's why I wanted to show it. They give you suggestions on how to get out. Luckily, our tuition is actually pretty good. With a degree, you can get a license in that puts you in a great position for the salary job. And the scholarship thing is pretty huge. So I did start off with just like the paper is due next week, and showed you guys the place to turn it in. The movie I did want to watch called The Line. It's about the poverty line. We can do that one next week because it only gave me this access to the movie.